Growing up, I always seemed to have a bit of fascination in shows that were about collecting things. You know, stuff like Pokemon, Monster Rancher, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Cardcaptor Sakura. And that may very well have led into my fascination of the Shin Megami Tensei family of games, what with the whole Demon Collection sub-theme that runs through the series. One such example of this genre that I really enjoyed when I was growing up was, of course, Digimon. The series always did feel like the Mega Blocks to Pokemon's Lego. You know, it always felt just a little stranger. While Pokemon goes for the simple theme of small creature into slightly bigger creature, and maybe even into slightly bigger creature, Digimon more has the trend of something along the lines of blob, into blob with teeth, into little dinosaur, into big dinosaur, into mecha dinosaur with rocket launcher pecs. Totally a thing, by the way. Into Gundam dinosaur. Oh, and then if you merge it with a wolf, it can become Voltron dinosaur. But looking past that, it was a pretty fascinating kid show, full of fascinating creatures and relatable characters. However, when it came to the video game side of things, Digimon just never really seemed to speak to me. The only game I have any real memory of playing is the original Digimon World, and the only memory I have of that is constantly watching my Agumon evolve into a fucking Numamon. Sorry, that rage has been pent up for a long time. But after that, I just never really kept track of the games. That is until I came across this. Digimon Story, Cyber Sleuth. Now, I imagine you're thinking the same thing that I first thought when I saw that title. The fuck is a Cyber Sleuth? I mean, I get that cyber means cyber and sleuth means detective, but what kind of a name is that? What, was Virtual Private Eye taken? In any case, I was intrigued enough. I kinda wanted to see how far the series had come over the years, so I bought it, as well as a copy of the sequel, Digimon Story, Cyber Sleuth, Hacker's Memory. These are just gonna get dumber, aren't they? In any event, let's start from the beginning and see how good these games really are. The game opens with you in a chat room with a bunch of other characters, talking about Digimon. It appears that in this world, Digimons are tools that hackers use. Which means it's going to be one of those stories where you fight using sort of techno jargon. You know, where a firewall is a literal barrier blocking you entry. In any event, your group's conversation is cut short when a strange bot appears called Mr. Nabbit. He offers your group a present and says that if you don't accept it, he'll hack you, before disappearing. Most of the group seem to ignore it, but you and two others decide to go investigate. And so we get our first look at our silent protagonist. The illegitimate and effeminate love child of Ronald McDonald and Uma Thurman's character from Kill Bill. After naming it, you get plunged into the main playground that this game takes place in. A virtual reality known as Eden. It's basically Second Life, but without the porn or the copyright infringing characters. So basically nothing like Second Life. In it, you meet your two friends, who decided to wear their dumbest outfits today. First, there's Arata, wearing a blue jumpsuit, paired with a high-collared hoodie that zips down from the top for some reason. He is an edgelord. Beside him is Nokia, who's wearing a pretty regular pink hoodie over top of a weirdly revealing blue dress, thigh-high stockings with garters, and way too many bracelets and necklaces. She was basically created for the sole purpose of fan service, but oddly enough, she's probably the only redeeming character in this entire story. You gotta admit, there's a 10-year-old inside of you that thought that was awesome. After meeting them, you lead into a couple tutorials and eventually get your first Digimon. After that, you run into a strange squid thing that you can't defeat, even on a New Game Plus, and you and your friends try to escape from it, but you're a little slower than the rest. As you're trying to log out, your character kinda gets caught by the squid, and something weird happens to you. Essentially, your mind ends up in a weird digital body that can manifest in the real world, while your real body ends up in a coma. While you're in this state, you're rescued by... oh no. Let's see, how do I want to get dressed today? I know. Hot pants. Pair that with a collared shirt that's slightly too big, but don't worry, I'll leave the buttons undone. Then, wrap a really long black scarf around me so that it barely touches my neck, and top it off with some bright pink shades. And as for my hair, I hear the lopsided look is really hot right now. Perfect. This lady is Kuremi, and apparently she's a detective? She takes you under your wing and you essentially end up working for her. You solve mysteries surrounding Digimon and the slightly futuristic world you live in. The second game follows a much more generic-looking boy, and only a boy this time, who joins a group of hackers, but this group vows to only do good. It takes place during the same timeline as the first game, but following different events. Overall, I would say that the story is slightly more interesting, but the characters are a lot more boring. I mean, the ones in the first game are annoying, but at least they have a personality. Honestly, both games' plots feel like something straight out of a cheesy 90s action movie. They're also weirdly long and very padded out. It's one of those games that has tons and tons of side missions, but you can't actually continue through certain parts of the game until you've completed certain side missions. I wouldn't exactly call them terrible. I mean, I was going into a Digimon game, I wasn't really expecting anything spectacular, but don't expect to be surprised by any of the twists that this game throws at you. But if I'm going to compare Digimon to Pokemon, I might as well continue the comparison. I don't play Pokemon for the plot, and I didn't really play this game for the plot. Purely on a combat basis, the game is actually simpler than Pokemon, if you can believe that. While Pokemon has a variety of different types with strengths and weaknesses, Digimon has 4 super types and 8 subtypes. But you only really need to worry about the main types. That would be Vaccine, Virus, Data, and Neutral. Vaccine, Virus, and Data all form a sort of rock, paper, scissors style competition between each other. Data beats Vaccine, Vaccine beats Virus, Virus beats Data. And by beat, I mean fucking destroy. Because being a virus against a Data grants you both a 50% increase in damage done, as well as a 50% decrease in damage taken. As such, it can turn certain boss fights into freaking chokes, as you just use Digimon that defeat their type. And as you might guess, neutral is just kind of neutral, not good or bad against anything. The subtypes also exist and add a little bit extra damage or defense, but honestly they're not really that important to care about. If you make your team entirely out of fire guys, as long as you have a decent mix of Vaccine, Virus, and Data, you're gonna do fine. However, the more unique part of Digimon's gameplay doesn't really come in the combat, but rather in collecting them. You see, while you can acquire a fair number of them in the wild, that's not really the best way to go about it. No, most of this game is based around evolution, or Digivolution.
Nope, didn't catch any of that.
Unlike in Pokemon, once your Digimon digivolves, it can also de-digivolve. And again, unlike Pokemon, almost every Digimon has a wide variety of other Digimon to evolve and devolve into. Pair that with how ridiculously easy it is to level up Digimon in this game, and you have a sort of incentive to explore throughout the tree of Digimon and find whatever suits your taste. Start off with an Agumon, go all the way up to a Wargreymon, then all the way back down to a Hagurumon, then all the way back up to a Tiger Vespamon, and keep going round and really find just about every Digimon using only one if you wanted. It's kind of a weird feeling, but with how quick you're able to evolve and devolve your Digimon in the later stages of the game, for the first time in a long time I really felt like I wanted to,
We're almost home! Gotta catch 'em all! Gotta catch 'em all! Gotta catch 'em all! Gotta catch 'em all!
yeah, that. While the world, characters, and gameplay surrounding it are really bland, I couldn't help but just feel a bit of a rush every time I discovered a Digimon that I'd never heard of before. At the end of the day, I'm not sure I'd really recommend anyone actually play the game, but it does offer a pretty cheap high. So, maybe consider it as an alternative to sniffing paint. I'm Firescale20, and I'll see you next time.